So back in January of this year, 2022, I purchased my 8th single family home, okay? And I have a video that's going to be coming out pretty soon with the before and after transformation of the remodel that we did on that property, okay? I'm also going to cover all of the financials regarding that property. But I figured before I get into the financials and the details of that specific property that I would cover the BRRRR Method, okay? Basically a real estate investment strategy that I utilize that I think would be very beneficial to those of you that follow me on this channel. So we're going to break down the BRRRR Method and everything that it includes in this video. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome to NYM. This is a channel dedicated to wealth building and financial literacy for the younger generation. My name's Christopher Bell, and the BRRRR Method is a strategy that I have utilized on my past 3 purchases, and it has been what has taken me to the next level as a real estate investor, okay? Mainly because I get to use the same money over and over and over again. So if you stick with me throughout this video, you're gonna understand what the BRRRR Method is and why I find it preferable to other methods of investing. All I ask is that you like this video, hit the subscribe button, and share it to a friend that may be looking to get into real estate investing. So let's go. So the BRRRR Method, what is it? Okay, BRRRR. It stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat, okay? And basically that is a strategy all on its own. That is a strategy we implement to be able to use the same funds over and over. So we buy a property that might need a little bit of work or a lot of work. It just depends. Every situation is different, okay? And from there, we're going to remodel that property. So for an example, if you buy something at, let's say, $50,000 cash, all right? Typically, you're gonna want to purchase these properties in cash. That is kind of the whole point of this specific strategy. Now, if you don't have the upfront capital to purchase in cash, I would recommend going the hard money, the private money route, or do something along the lines of wholesaling until you can come up with the capital to make your first purchase of a BRRRR property in cash. So we're going to buy the property in cash. That is the first step. Next up, we're going to renovate that property. Now, what happens when you renovate or improve a property is you basically force appreciate the property. So you increase the value of that property. We call it forced appreciation because you're adding value to it. You're forcing the property to appreciate, okay? So those are the first 2 steps. You buy it, and then you're going to renovate the property. So now you've bought the property, you've renovated the property, you're going to find a tenant to rent the property from you, okay? Basically, there are 2 different ways, specifically in North Carolina, there are 2 different ways in which appraisers value a home. They value it based on the comps in the area, and they also value it based on the rent that specific property is pulling, okay? So houses that rent for more are typically worth more. So you wanna go ahead and rent that property out before you start the refinance process. So you have the option to base the value of the property off the rents or off of just other comps in the area. So after you've rented the property out, you're going to refinance the property, okay? This is the fun part because let's say, for example, this is just a very simple example, but let's say, for example, if you were to purchase a property for, let's say, $50,000, okay? And then you were to put $50,000 worth of your money or whoever's money into that property for the rehab. Well, now you were all in at $100,000 out of pocket, okay? But now that property is no longer worth the $50,000 that you bought it for. It's now worth $150,000. Well, because you bought it in all cash and you don't have a mortgage on it, you could pretty much go to any bank, any lender and say, hey, I want to take out a mortgage on this property. And they're going to tell you, okay, we're going to need you to keep 20% equity in the property, or like a 20% down payment, which is required for most rental properties in North Carolina anyway. If you're going through a traditional lender such as a bank, they're going to say, okay, look, the property is now worth $150,000, okay? We will give you 80% of that value, which is $120,000. And you'll just pay us back over the traditional 30-year fixed term, all right? At whatever interest rate you agree on. So the way that that breaks down is you put in $50,000 to buy the house, you put in $50,000 to renovate the house, and now the bank is gonna give you a check for $120,000. So basically you can take your $100,000, put it back, all right? Take that $20,000, pocket it, okay, to go towards the next deal. And then you're going to rent it out for, let's say if the mortgage is $600 a month and you're in an area where you can rent it for $1,300 a month. Well, now that tenant is paying for the mortgage and you get to keep that difference in cash flow. All right. So just to kind of recap that one more time, you bought the property for $50,000. You put $50,000 into the rehab. The bank says it's now worth $150 and they're willing to give you 80% of that $150, which is $120. That is about as good as it gets, guys. All right, that is an extremely good deal. And if you're able to run across a deal of that caliber, I would highly recommend you jump on it. Okay, this is the method that allows you to get all of your money back and repeat the process, which is the last R in the BRRRR method. You want to repeat the process so you can keep scaling and scaling and scaling, okay? The coolest part about the BRRRR method is that $20,000 extra, so you put in the 50 or the 100 to get this property up to snuff. That extra $20,000 that you had, you don't have to pay taxes on it. You understand that that money that the bank is giving you is a debt. You're paying that debt back over 30 years, or the tenant is paying that debt back over a 30-year term. So you technically didn't make any money. You just took out more debt. So because it's debt, that is $20,000 that you will not have to pay any type of taxes on. That is the power of debt. But now you have $120,000 to go and do the next deal, and you keep scaling and scaling and scaling until eventually you end up with enough passive income that you can move on to bigger and better things. I'm currently venturing into the commercial real estate space. We're looking for our first deal now. I have my criteria set around 18 to 24 units, so that's kind of what I've been in the market for. But until I can find the proper purchase, I'm just going to stick to single family homes. This method has helped me scale dramatically, so I wanted to go ahead and share it with you all so that you too can go out, start making these purchases, doing these renovations, and getting your foot in the game. Okay, you got to get started somewhere. So this would be a great place to start if you have a little bit of capital that you can utilize to make these type of purchases happen. Okay, one of the biggest tips that I'm going to advise you on is make sure that you know what your house can appraise for after you do the renovation. The biggest way to get caught up in this method of investing is by not doing your research and not knowing what the after repair value is going to be on the property. So let's say, for example, if you go and put in $50,000 to buy the house, and then you go and put in $50,000 to rehab the house, and the appraiser comes back and says, hey, the house is only worth $100,000, and the bank is only willing to give you 80% of that 100,000, which is 80K. That means that you're still going to have $20,000 of your own money tied up in that deal. Okay, so that's not optimal. The goal is to get all of your money back plus some, if you're able to do it that way. Breaking even, in my opinion, breaking even is perfectly fine as well. You could break even, which would also you would have a lower mortgage. So say, as far as like that first example I gave where I said, you put in 50 to purchase, you 50,000 in on the rehab. Well, then you don't have to necessarily take out the entire 120. Okay, that 80% of the 150, you don't have to take all of that out. You could easily have left that 20 grand in the equity. All right, I don't recommend that because I like to have more money freed up. And if I'm gonna refi anyway, I would rather have that money freed up so I can put it towards the next deal. But let's say that, you know, you're only planning on purchasing one house and you want to keep the mortgage lower so that you can have an increased cash flow. Well, you don't have to take all of the equity out. Okay, so I just wanted to cover the BRRRR method, and it's gonna make a lot more sense when I give my real world example on the house that we're currently finishing up. So I wanted to make this video as a prequel to the one that I have coming out very soon as we finish with the last little touches on the rehab. So I hope this video helped. As always, please like the video, comment down below if you plan on using the BRRRR method, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, I want to push more content out to more people so that more people can have opportunities with investing in real estate, regardless of the method. Okay, I'll cover wholesaling in other videos. I'll cover how to flip properties, and I'll cover the differences in future videos. But for now, I wanted to discuss the BRRRR method. So thank you for everything as always, and I will see you all in the next video. Later, guys.